Now, our executive editor Madhavdas spoke to tunnel expert Arnold Dix. Listen in.
With us is Arnold Dix, who's an international tunneling expert. Mr. Dix, thank you so much for joining us here on Times Now. Let me begin by asking you, the 17-day struggle has come to an end. How do you feel at the moment? Elated, relieved, happy, thankful? What's the right word?
What do I look like? I feel like I've been run over by a bus, I think. It's a mixture of so many emotions. And I actually took the time today to go up to the temple on the mountain that overlooks the tunnel. And I realised how tired and happy and joyful I am. I went there with some of the emergency services people from the project, and we were all singing songs and dancing and behaving like little school children. So I think that tells you how we're feeling. Just so excited, so pleased, and it's like, you know, a miracle come true. So yeah, we were very happy little campers today.
Right, absolutely, and I can only understand and try and estimate the kind of joy that you would have had. But interesting that you started off telling us about the temple, because you were also, I've seen a video of yours where you were talking about how it's not just here but everywhere that you go, it is the local god in that mountain area that reverence has to be paid to, because at the end of the day you're dealing with nature and forces of nature in front of whom man is very humble at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that came as quite a surprise to many people who aren't involved in underground work. We in the underground are quite humble because for probably thousands of years we've learned that if we're not humble and if we don't take the nature very seriously, it kills us. It's that simple. So we're actually a very humble bunch. And for example, in Australia, there's two temples usually at an underground project. There's one to Santa Barbara, which is more linked to pagan and Christian traditions, and there's usually a second temple for the local Aboriginal gods, slightly different again. I was just in Finland, and in Finland they not only have a temple, but they have a strange, well, not strange, it's obviously normal for them, but they have a custom where they take a special tar and they put the tar at the lowest point in whatever they're excavating. So it's another way of respecting the gods underground. Very interesting. And it's a very humbling business to be in the business of building underground, because you make one mistake and it's all over.
You know, I was about to, quote you where you've said at one place that it's been an honor as a parent to help out all parents in getting their children home. Now, this clearly seems to be the psyche which has motivated you as well as several others, in terms of getting the workers out safely. It's ultimately about the responsibility towards the parents, the family of those who are trapped.
Absolutely. So I have a very, very strong view about how special human life is. And it's no more special, I think, than when viewed through the eye of a parent for a child. And all of these men are young men because they have to be strong to be in this business. They're strong men. That's the whole point. And wherever they're from, and it's around the world, we see this, it's young, strong men who go out to make a living, to prove themselves, to bring money home, to support their families. Now, what most people didn't know, because I didn't tell them, is I have a daughter who's a tunnel engineer, and she's the same age as these men. And in fact, I was wearing her shoes when I came, literally wearing her shoes. The shoes that I wear when I came to India are her boots.
Excellent.
These boots.
Excellent.
These are actually they're my daughter's boots, right? So with every footstep that I took during this emergency operation, I was reminded that I could have been walking in the shoes of my daughter. And also, my daughter had worked with me on several fatal collapses in the Gulf, right, in the Gulf countries. And although I'm not permitted to talk about them, there were Indian workers involved in those deaths. Hang on, I'm trying to get my camera organised, right? So I know really well about Indian workers, and I know really well about them being killed, and therefore, and also my daughter and I have worked with Indian workers in underground in other countries, not in India. So actually, this is very personal for me because I'm a parent. It could be my daughter. It could be your child. It could, we're proud of our kids. We want them to go and work. These are young people and they've done nothing wrong. They're just at work, just doing their job, just trying to support their families. So for me and for the team, we were clear. We are bringing 41 workers home.
Rescue forces, the security forces, all of the government agencies, the power department, so on and so forth, were all able to coordinate together so smoothly to ensure that this operation was a success. Tell us about your take in terms of the coordination, because you must have seen similar instances in other countries as well.
Yeah, well, I've seen similar emergencies, and even if they say they're coordinated, they're not really. Normally what happens is one agency or one individual with a particularly loud voice or a big stick or something says we're all going to agree, and then we all agree, and if we don't agree, then you get hit over the head with a stick or something. So, and I mean that metaphorically, but that wasn't the case here. Here was a case where you had men in uniform sitting with civilians, where you had federal agencies sitting with state agencies, where you had experts from all around, like me. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not Indian and I'm sort of pink coloured and I can't speak Hindi. And yet, in the meetings, the meeting would, by decision of the group, speak in English just so I could understand. I mean, it's your country. Like, I'm just a visitor. It's my fault that I can't speak Hindi. So you could, or the group could rightly have said, turn on Google Translate, and if you get stuck, we'll answer the question. But instead, they honoured me with speaking in English.
The Prime Minister's office was also directly involved. What is the role that you saw of the Prime Minister's office in terms of actually coordinating this mission, getting all of these agencies together?
I found the Prime Minister's office to be very positive, and also not only positive but very respectful of, gosh, I'm too tired to say it correctly, but the local government as well here, the
state government, yes.
And there was a very, so the state government were leading, and yet even though they were leading and even though clearly they were the lead, everybody had a voice. So we were all aware in terms of the emergency response how everything was structured, but the Prime Minister's office was, like, as I say, I'm just so impressed with how everybody worked together.
The reason I'm asking you this, Mr. Dix, is because there's been some criticism. Yeah. And, politicians, of course, in every country are going to criticize each and every big current event. And there are those in India who are saying that perhaps the best of technology wasn't used. There are other countries like Sri Lanka or Somalia could have done this in 2 to 4 days. You're a tunneling expert. I'm sure you don't want to get into politics. But if someone comes and tells you that the best of technology wasn't used, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them to just stop being a child. Anyone who talks like that, it's just total nonsense. And I don't want to get into politics, but that's just, I said Christmas is coming. Well, it's like that. That's a fairy tale for Christmas. The way that we got this done was not by technology. The way that we got this done in the end was exactly the opposite. It was by using ancient technique of using people with their hands so that we could softly build a tunnel. So if anyone thinks that there's some technological way to burrow through more than 1 million tonnes of avalanche material, I'll wager, I shouldn't bet because I'm not a betting person, but honestly, that is just nonsense. It's just, but there may be another political agenda for saying it, but I'm speaking technically, it's just not true.